Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot Roundup, where I introduce you to Democratic candidates running in local elections throughout the country. I'm Bryan Randolph, and today I am here with Rose Lounsbury, who is running for Ohio State House of Representatives to represent the 36th district, including Kettering and East Dayton. Rose, it is very nice to have you here. How
Oh,
are you?
thank you. I am great, Brian. I am so happy to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, it's great to have you. Why don't you start by telling me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am a former public school teacher. I taught middle school English for 7 years. For the last 10 years or so, I have owned a small business. It's a decluttering and simplicity coaching business. I help people declutter their stuff, organize their homes, organize their email, prioritize their schedules, that sort of thing. But my most important job is my job as a mom. I have 15-year-old triplets. Two boys and a girl. And so really kind of my reason for running in a nutshell is because, I want to create a state that my kids are going to want to live in someday. And so my children in the future of Ohio are really the inspiration for me for running for office. So that's just a little bit of my background, kind of like the quick version. Live here in Dayton. I've lived here for 20 years. I live in Oakwood. So this district is Kettering, Oakwood, Riverside, East Dayton, and downtown Dayton. So it's a mixture of suburban and urban areas.
Okay, and I was about to ask, could you tell me a little bit more about the district?
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting district. This is the number one red to blue flip seat in the Ohio
Ooh,
House. So we have 99 House races. Obviously, some of them are unopposed, but we have 99 races going on. This one is the top red to blue flip seat. It has never been held by a Democrat, always held by a Republican, but every single year, Democrats have gotten closer to flipping it to the point where in 2022, the very young man who ran against the incumbent Republican, he only lost by 462 votes. He was outspent by hundreds of thousands of dollars and almost beat her. So it's a very tight race. My other fun fact that I'd like to share about this district is Joe Biden won this district in 2020 as it's drawn today, because of course it's been redrawn a few times, but as it's drawn today, Joe Biden won this district in 2020 by one literal vote. So when people think their votes don't matter, I'm like, not in House District 36, because every single vote matters. I mean, this race will be decided by less than 1,000 votes. And so it's an interesting district. It's a mixture of suburbs and urban together. It's a district that has voted for progressive ballot initiatives. So this district voted for the Reproductive Rights Amendment back in November. It voted against the August election prior to that, which was intended to prevent people from passing reproductive rights. So I feel like the issues are with us in this district. Even though, it's a pretty even split between registered Republicans and registered Democrats, most of the people in this district are pretty common sense, centrist kind of people who want things like reproductive freedom, who want voting rights, who want the basic things like the basic tenets of democracy that most people want. So that's a little bit
okay.
about the district itself.
So I was about to ask what issues are really important, but it sounds like, we're hearing them. What do you think is would be your top priority if you made it to the state house to fix some of the issues that are important to people in District 36?
Yeah, so the number one issue that I talk about and the number one place I want to make effective change is public education. So I was a public school teacher. My parents were actually both public school teachers as well. So my mom was an art teacher. My dad taught in a career tech center, teaching woodworking and shop and auto mechanics and that kind of stuff. So supporting our public schools is a huge thing. Ohio is one of the states where we have had a lot of encroachment from vouchers, charter schools. As a matter of fact, this past year in Ohio, we have spent $1 billion on a voucher program that mostly benefits wealthy families. So it used to be initially vouchers were sold to us as a way to help low-income kids in struggling schools. But last summer it was like, okay, the gloves completely came off and they removed any income cap. So you could be a millionaire or a billionaire sending your kid to private school that you've always paid for. Now you get a voucher for that in Ohio. I mean, it is insane that, my public tax dollars are funding private school education for kids who had never any intention of attending public school. It's a coupon for the wealthy. So those are, when I talk about the things that affect people in my district, that's the number one thing, because the way we fund schools in Ohio is through our property taxes. Actually, 2/3 of our property taxes go to schools in this area in Ohio. And so what our taxpayers see is like their property taxes going up every year. If you're a renter, your rent is going up every year because the property tax is going up for the person who owns the building. And so one of the things that I want to do is I want to fix our school funding system so that we can relieve the burden on our taxpayers. And a big part of that to me is eliminating this universal voucher program. There is no reason somebody who is making $500,000 a year should get a coupon to send their kid to private school. That is wrong. So that is one of the things that I want to do. And by eliminating that program, we relieve the burden on taxpayers because we're currently funding it. That $1 billion comes out of the same pot of money that public education funding comes out of for our traditional public schools. So that's something that I've found resonates with a lot of people on the ground. It resonates with a lot because it affects all of us, whether you got kids in school or not. You have to pay property tax or you have to pay rent. Everybody does. And the number one thing we're paying for with it is public school. And a big portion of our public school dollars are now going to private school vouchers. So that's something that I want to affect change on.
Okay. Can you give me something, an issue where you and your opponent really differ?
Yeah, so probably the biggest one would be voting rights. So the reason that I got into this race is because my opponent supported the August special election. And for people not in Ohio, what that was so we had reproductive rights on the ballot in November because we were one of those states when Roe versus Wade was overturned. Within hours, we had a 6-week, no exceptions abortion ban in the state, which is just, for all the reasons everyone has seen, that is awful policy. It is dangerous. We had this horrible national story of a 10-year-old child rape victim forced to go outside of Ohio to get care. Come on, y'all. That is awful. It is almost inhuman to me that was happening in my state. So we gather the signatures. We get reproductive rights on the ballot in November. And so our Republican legislature decided in August that they were going to put an issue on the ballot, one issue, August 8th, the middle of the summer when people are not home, people are not thinking about voting. They put on a special election. It cost us $18 million taxpayer dollars to put the election on. And the issue on the ballot was, should we raise the threshold for passing constitutional amendments to 60% from a simple majority of 51%? Gee, I wonder why. Because they didn't want reproductive rights to pass. My opponent supported that. I actually called her when they were voting on it back in May. I said, multiple times until she did finally call me back, which I appreciated. And when I got her on the phone, I was like, are you supporting this? It's undemocratic. It's unpopular. It's unnecessary. It's expensive. And she told me that she was, because she thought that our Constitution was too easy to amend. Never mind that it's been that way for over 100 years. She thought it was too easy, and it warranted a special election in the middle of the summer that cost us $18 million to change this horrible system that we've had for over 100 years in Ohio. So what that showed me very clearly was this is a person who, first of all, does not represent me, does not value democracy, because does not believe that the people's voices should matter, does not value women having the freedom to make decisions about their own bodies. So we differ on some really basic things, which is I believe people's votes should matter. I believe people should have a voice in who governs them, and she clearly doesn't. And so at the most basic level, and we could look at all the other issues, guns and all sorts of things, but at the most basic level, like I value democracy and she doesn't. And so that's how I would draw the line.
Okay. All right, so this is my softball question, which is my favorite question.
Okay.
I would like to know, what is it about your district that makes it special to you?
Well, there are tons of things that make this district special to me, but the one thing that I really love about my district, so the Wright brothers are from Dayton. The Wright brothers' home is like 1 mile that away from my house right now.
Oh, cool.
And so sometimes when I think about all the things like I want to do in the world, the changes that I want to make, and people are like, oh, you can't do that. That'll never happen. That's impossible. You know what? I live a mile from guys who created a flying machine that changed the entire history of the world. So don't tell me that things are impossible. We've done impossible here in Dayton. And that's what's special to me about this district, is that we are a home of places where we take impossible ideas and we make them happen, and it actually can change the world. And so that by far to me is what is most special about this place. And it's why that I care so much about Dayton. I care so much about representing the people of Dayton, because we are ingenuitive, we are thoughtful, we are kind, we are good people. And I really believe that the people I've talked to, the people at the doors, are people who want change in this state. We are not the kind of state that I think we are reflected as in the national media, this like red place backward. I mean, we've been Springfield, Ohio. We saw the presidential debate and how people in Springfield were attacked. And that's not who we are. That's not who we are. And that's not what I stand for. And I want to bring a different view.
Rose Lounsbury is running for the Ohio State House in District 36. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it very much and best of luck.
Thank you, Bryan. Happy to be here.